Well, during the first few weeks of the season, there were no shocking eliminations, but for this week, we got our first one of the season. How's it going, guys? It's Eric Sharkey, aka Dance with Our Superfan, back with another video, and the competition is coming down to the wire. Usually we have 5 couples during the semifinals, but for this season, we have 6. I gotta say, last night was probably one of the greatest nights ever this season, but in the end, we had a shocking elimination that nobody saw coming. The couple that didn't deserve to go home last night. For this week was Icons Night, where the contestants honoring their favorite icons in music. So that's what we're going to talk about in this episode recap. And if you guys like this video, make sure you hit that subscribe button down below and smash that like button, and also turn on post notifications to get you notified by my latest Dancing with Stars content video. So without further ado, let's get started. First up is Justina and Sasha dancing the rumba to Crazy For You by Madonna. Derek thought it was a beautiful rumba with great turns and oozy slow movements, but he wanted it to be sharper. Bruno said it was the gentle side of Madonna, she did everything right, but she held back a little too much. CHERYL also thought Justina danced a little too small. The good news is they had hip action during the dance, but I felt like the hips were a little stiff, but other than that, it was a good dance. So judges' scores are, they were all 8s from the judges, giving them a score 24 out of 30. Next up is Nelly and DANEILLA dancing the jazz to California Love by TUPAC. Bruno said Nelly's style makes him smile, he has an ease and was in his element, but he points out that Nelly missed a couple of steps. CHERYL said he did a great job, and she thought it was fun because he was entertaining them, although it had a few missteps. Derek felt the joy and love of the routine, but he too points out the mistakes in the routine. I noticed he missed a couple of steps during the routine, and I love how they improvised some great things in that dance, especially Nelly singing that song, which is pretty cool. So the judges' scores are, they were all 8s from the judges, giving them a score 24 out of 30. Next up is AJ and CHERYL dancing the Viennese Waltz to Somebody to Love by Queen. CHERYL said that was a tough one, but then he seemed to lose his turns in choreography, and he needs to pay attention to his fingers on its extensions. Derek thought he was beautiful in frame despite his mistakes, and he needs to be aware of his face, and he needs to be a little bit more relaxed. Bruno thinks AJ was so pumped up, he got himself in a bit of a jumble, and he needs to soften his arms. Even though he messed up on that one step and had a little problems with the dance, his elements have slightly improved. Not a lot, but some of it have improved. So judges' scores are, CHERYL a 7, Derek an 8, Bruno an 8, giving them a score 23 out of 30. Next up is KAITLYN and ARTEM dancing the Argentine tango to Toxic by Britney Spears. Derek gives KAITLYN a standing ovation. He has felt she lacked impact in the past, and she nailed that tonight. Bruno started off by saying, "Hit me, KAITLYN, one more time." He thought it had luscious shapes and lines that stretched to infinity. CHERYL also gives KAITLYN a standing ovation after weeks of giving her tough critics. She thought every line and lift was perfect. Then KAITLYN and ARTEM hugged CHERYL, so they're probably all going to have to get double COVID tests, but we'll just have to wait and see. I have to say, this is one of KAITLYN's greatest dances that she has ever done this season, and did her attacks improve? Absolutely! This dance was one of my favorite dances of that night. So judges' scores are, there were all 10s from the judges, which means a perfect score. This marks ARTEM's first ever perfect score in his Dancing with the Stars career, so well done. Next up is Johnny and Britt dancing to Quickstep to Valerie by Mark Ronson featuring Amy Winehouse. Bruno said Amy would have loved that. The quickstep was excellent in addition to his portrayal of Amy. CHERYL said we've never seen a quickstep like that. He pulled it off beautifully with lots of precision and light on his feet. Derek said you being you equals love, and his technique and footwork were clean. I gotta say, this dance was clean and it didn't miss a single step, and it was pitch perfect. This is also one of my favorite dances of that night. So judges' scores are, they were all 10s from the judges, which is also a perfect score. This also marks Britt Stewart's first ever perfect score in her Dancing with the Stars career. So, well done. Next up is Sky and Alan dancing the Paso Doble to If by Janet Jackson. CHERYL is proud of Sky's fierce Paso Doble. She channeled a new fierceness just like Janet Jackson did when she released that album. Derek thought it was powerful and confident, but she needs to watch her arms, which were a little too tense. Bruno thought it was one of her most grown-up dances that she has ever done, and she did a fantastic job. My favorite part of this whole dance was where she was spinning on the floor and stopped really quickly, which was amazing because I'd never seen anybody do that before, which is really awesome. And everything about that dance was awesome. Despite some problems during the dance, it was still a great dance though. So judges' scores are, they were all 9s from the judges, giving them a score 27 out of 30. Last up is Neve and Jenna dancing the jive to Saturday Night's Alright by Elton John. Derek loved how much content and charisma it had, but it needed more pump in the jive action. Bruno loved the structure and the characterization of the dance, but it needed better retraction on the flicks and kicks. KAITLYN thinks he's a pleasure to watch, but he needs to point his toes a little more. Even though he had some problems with the kicks and flicks during the dance, it was still a great dance. Honestly, I don't know who else played that song on the show before except for Master P, who did it during season 2, because his dance was way better than Master P's. Searches Grizzard, they were all 9s from the judges, giving them a score 27 out of 30. Now that we got to the dances, let's get to the dance-offs. All 6 of the couples, with the exception of Neve and Jenna, who got immunity and didn't have to compete in that dance-off. The first matchup is KAITLYN and ARTEM versus Justina and SASHA, dancing the Cha-Cha-Cha to Telephone by Lady Gaga. CHERYL voted for KAITLYN, Derek voted for Justina, while Bruno voted for Justina. In my mind, 100% they both were good, but KAITLYN and ARTEM were slightly better in my opinion. Second matchup is Sky and Alan versus Nelly and Daniela, dancing the salsa to The Cup of Love by Ricky Martin. CHERYL voted for Sky, Derek voted for Nelly, while Bruno voted for Sky. I felt like Nelly improved a little bit, but Sky was killing it out there. Last matchup is Johnny and Britt versus AJ and CHERYL, dancing the jive to Wake Me Up Before You Go by Wham. CHERYL voted for Johnny, Derek voted for AJ, while Bruno voted for AJ. I gotta say this dance-off was more competitive than the other two. Man, it was so hard to pick who was the best because they were both great. So Justina and Sasha, Sky and Alan, and AJ and CHERYL got an extra 2 points for winning those dance-offs. Now, let's take a look at the leaderboard from last night. Both the dances and the dance-off round scores combined. Tied at the top of the leaderboard are KAITLYN and ARTEM and Johnny and Britt with 30 points, Sky and Alan and Neve and Jenna tied with 29 points, Justina and Sasha with 26 points, AJ and CHERYL with 25 points, and at the bottom are Nelly and Daniela with 24 points. Out of all the other dances of last night, KAITLYN and ARTEM, Johnny and Britt, and Sky and Alan brought the best performances last night. So now, who will be in the semifinals next week? Well, let's talk about who will be in the semifinals next week, the bottom 2, the judges save, and who will be denied their shot at making it to the semifinals. The couples who are safe are KAITLYN and ARTEM, Sky and Alan, Neve and Jenna, Justina and Sasha, and Nelly and Daniela, while AJ and CHERYL and Johnny and Britt are on the bottom 2. Bruno votes to save Johnny and Britt, Derek votes to save AJ and CHERYL, while KAITLYN votes to save Johnny and Britt, while AJ and CHERYL are shockingly eliminated. Honestly, I was really surprised and shocked that AJ and Johnny were in the bottom 2, but I guess for Nelly, his fans are rallying behind him. I'm kind of sad and a little bit disappointed that AJ and CHERYL will not be in the semifinals next week. Even though he had his ups and downs, he was still a good dancer. The one couple I was concerned about were Sky and Alan because they made some mistakes during one of their dances, but now I'm starting to worry about Johnny and Britt. His fan base is keeping him safe, but as of this moment, it doesn't look like his fan base is not getting stronger as the weeks are going on. But we'll just have to wait and see next week if his fans and his votes will follow through. And that'll do it for this video. So next week will be the semifinals. For next week, they're going to have 2 dances. One will be the redemption dance, and the other one will be an unlearned dance. Not only that, they're going to have another double elimination. While the next week after that will be the finals to determine who will win the mirror ball this season. So let me know in the comments down below, do you think AJ was eliminated too soon and should have been in the semifinals? Because I personally think so. So let me know in the comments down below on what do you think of last night and how it all went down. So anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. This is Eric Sharkey, aka Dance with a Star Superfan. Catch you next time.